Hi you guys, this is Rita with Restyled Renewed, and I thought I would come on and talk to you guys about prepping your furniture. I'm actually making this video for my YouTube channel, so that's where this video is going to go. So, prepping your furniture. Yes, you need to prep your furniture before painting it. It's very, very important. The first thing, the least you want to do with your furniture is give it a really good clean. So for cleaning your furniture, you can do, there's lots of cleaners that you can use. I tend to use Crud Cutter. This is nice because you just spray it on, you know, it's very easy to use. But another option is TSP mixed into some water. So you could also do that. Boy, the lighting is really bad, and I am sorry about that, but it's kind of a weird day today here in Tennessee, so the lighting is bad because of that. Anyways, Crud Cutter, TSP, you could use that. You could use some vinegar and water. You could use at least, you know, even if you don't want to go and use these chemicals, get some Dawn soap, get some baking soda, something like that. You know, there are lots of natural products you can use, but you definitely want to clean. So vacuum your piece really well and then clean it really well. And then once you're cleaning, if you're using chemicals, you want to rinse off your piece. So after you clean with chemicals or whatever you're using, you want to rinse off your piece with some warm water. So then rinse it with warm water. And then once you've done that, then you are ready to prime. Now, priming your furniture. Not every piece of furniture needs to be primed, but many pieces do have to be primed. And it just all depends on the piece of furniture. So, for instance, this bed behind me right here, you can see this is a dark wood. It's kind of that reddish, it's got like a reddish stain on it. So this is the kind of furniture, and you can kind of feel it's a little bit glossy too. This is the kind of furniture that is notorious for bleed through. Any of the woods that have a reddish tone to them tend to bleed through. So that's why people in the furniture world recommend priming, because you're going to get bleed through happening on certain kinds of wood. That's why it's good to prime. So with this particular piece, now you can see this is the bed that I posted a while back. See all the detail here? Because this bed has incredible detail, I don't want to put on a white bin primer. I want to put on shellac in this area here, because what I'm going to do right here to bring out the detail is I'm going to distress it, which means I'm going to paint it and I'm going to take off the paint in all this detailed area so that the wood grain is going to come through the paint. So anywhere where I know I'm going to for sure distress, I'm going to put on the shellac as my priming medium. So I'm going to use shellac. Now I'm not going to shellac the entire bed because I'm almost positive I'm going to paint this pure white. So because I'm going pure white, and pure white is a very hard color to work with, I am going to do shellac here, and then the rest of it I'm going to put the bin primer on. The bin, I don't have it right here in front of me, but it's made by Zinsser, and it says on the can bin, and it's shellac based. It's white. So all the rest of the bed is going to get 2 coats of bin primer so that I can stop the bleed through that is most likely going to happen on this red dark wood, a mahogany kind of wood. Also, this kind of wood here, you can see it's really, really dark. I think this probably would be a walnut stain on here. This is notorious also for a bleed through. So when I come to paint this table, this is from a table, I am going to also prime this. This one I'm not going to distress, so I'm going to go ahead and put the bin primer all over the tabletop and the legs so that I'm not going to have any bleed through happening. So the bin primer is good for bleed through. It's good for oftentimes furniture. You're buying old furniture, there's a smell to the furniture. So the bin primer is good for kind of getting rid of that smell too. You know, people who smoke, the smoke is on their furniture. So bin primer helps with that too. Now here's another type of wood. This is a drawer from a really old table. Just a little tiny little table, and you can see this wood is totally different from this leg here and the bed behind me. So this little table I'm going to chalk paint, and this kind of wood I do not have to prime this. I'm just going to chalk paint it. Now of course I go through the steps of cleaning, and I'm going to scuff sand and all that, but this wood is not going to need to be primed. So priming, it really does depend on the wood that you're painting. If you don't know what to do, prime your piece. Either shellac it or bin prime it, because then that takes care of the bleed through happening. Sometimes, you know, the people in this furniture world, we know kind of the wood that's going to cause us problems and the wood that's not going to cause us problems. If you don't know, go ahead and prime your piece, because you can never ever go wrong with priming your furniture. It's always a safe option to do. You prime your piece of furniture, the paint is going to stick. If you're not sure, something like this that has a glossy finish to it, you can just feel the glossiness on it, your paint is going to just scratch right off. So that's why people recommend primers on furniture, okay? Now this particular one is a latex primer. So a latex primer, water base, is what I put on when I use metallic paints, which I do use a lot of Modern Masters metallics. So I use a latex underneath the Modern Masters as a primer, so that the paint stays on the piece of furniture. You do not want that paint scratching off. And the Modern Masters, there's a whole video on using metallic paints, but they recommend a water-based latex paint, not a chalk paint as your base. So that's something else you need to know. But anyways, so let's recap. Vacuum your piece, clean it really well, and then clean it with your chemicals, rinse off the chemicals. Scuff sand, you want to make sure you do some scuff sanding. Now, even something like this, I'm just going to do a quick scuff sand on it. I'm not going to prime this one, but I'm going to scuff sand it. Something like this where there's, I can feel the shellac on here. I can feel the glossiness. I'm just going to do a really super quick scuff sand. Now, what I use for scuff sand, and this one too, I mean, it is so slippery. That means there's a whole bunch of lacquer on here, and your paint is not going to adhere. You need to, even though you're priming it, you still need to scuff sand it, because your primer will also flake right off. So I use a 220 grit. I got a new pack here. So you can just cut these up, or you can use a sanding block if you want to do that. You definitely do not need to pull out your electric sander to do this. So, because all you're doing is you're doing a quick sanding. So I normally cut this into 4 little squares, and then I'll take my, I'll just show you real quick here. I don't have a piece cut right here. Scuff sanding, this is what I mean by scuff sanding. You see all this stuff here? That is the sealer, that's the lacquer that's coming off. That's not like the wood or the wood dust, that is the lacquer dust that's coming off. This is what you want removed before you start all your priming and painting. So, see that? That's all lacquer dust. So that's what I mean by scuff sanding. You're not stripping it down to the raw wood. You're just doing a super quick sanding like this. It won't take you very long. Even if you're doing a huge piece like this bed, it's pretty fast because you're just kind of quickly sanding, right? So that helps to remove all the glossy lacquer that is on furniture. When it's made in a factory, you know, or a business, they're spraying it with stuff. So that's the stuff you want to get rid of before you start painting. So clean, rinse, scuff sand, and then you're going to do one of your primers. A bin primer, a shellac, something. Now this kind of primer, you can even get primers that are tintable. And it says on the can, tintable. So, which is what I did here. I tinted it gray because I use a lot of gray. So that is something else you can do also for a primer. But it's never ever wrong to prime. It just depends on whether you're going to distress or not, whether you use shellac or a different kind of primer. This is a latex, but there's, you know, shellac based and regular shellac. And then after you've done your primer, sometimes furniture takes 2 coats of primer. Make sure you follow the drying times. Once you've done your priming, and then you are ready to paint. So yes, there's lots of steps, but all this prep before you even touch the paint to your wood is very, very important. Don't just think you can slap on some paint. It just doesn't work that way, because if you do, it's going to scrape off eventually. So the reason why everyone tells you to clean and scuff sand and prep is because we want the paint to last on your furniture. So I think that about covers it, you guys. So I'll be back tomorrow and show you some of the projects I am working on. Thanks so much. Talk to you later.